Hello, my name is DJ,
I'm Vitor.
and this is our Pick Your Brain podcast. We've been sitting around here trying to come up with a name idea for like 20 minutes, but yeah, we just thought it'd be fun to put together a podcast.
Yes, so as we start, we're gonna kind of just go with the flow, see how ideas kind of pan out together before we really come up with the theme. For today's podcast, we're going to focus mainly on jobs and gaming. So, work hard, play hard. How do you manage your life? And if you had a choice to change it all up, how would you do it better?
Because we all want that second chance, right? You were like, I should have done that. There you go. So, just to introduce ourselves, my name is DJ, as I mentioned before. About 23, and I guess a fun fact about myself is I like to do just about everything. I like to do sports related things, acting related things, video game related stuff, anime related stuff. I'm everywhere. So that's me.
Okay. And my name is Vitor. I'm also 23.
Hey.
And my main fun fact that I always kind of have a go-to is that I am an only child. However, my great-grandmother had 24 kids, no epidural, and also no twins. So she was basically pregnant for 18 years of her life. How I ended up being an only child,
Good Lord.
God only knows.
But you're here now.
Yep.
And so, like we said, we just wanted to make a podcast because, it'd be fun. And I'm already having fun and we haven't even done much yet. Also, we talk a lot. So, we might as well get on the podcast.
Just accept it right now.
Yeah, play to your strengths. So,
okay. I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Is the average American working day / week is 8 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Gross.
Yeah. Well, who decided that should be the standard?
Maybe the same person who thought colonel should be spelled colonel.
Could be the same people. Maybe it's just the people who thought that seemed like a decent amount of time to be at work. However, as much as I love working, I also like spending time with family and friends and outside of that. Now, I don't think 2 days out of the week are going to be enough for that. So, we will definitely let you guys comment, but we'll go ahead and share our opinions on that, and we can kind of go back and forth on it. If I had to change the work week, it would be a 4/7, either 8 hours or 10 hours a day. It's totally fine. What is important is not just the hours, but which days you get off.
That's true.
And this has actually been implemented at Microsoft in Japan.
Really?
Where they tried I believe it was still an 8-hour day for 4 times a week, so it's Monday through Thursday.
Okay.
And they actually saw their productivity go up.
So, like, what parts of the day, though, were they working? Was it like an overnight type of thing? Was it primarily during the day?
As far as I know, I don't know the specifics, but I imagine it was still the regular work day, except they just took out one day. And since people could look forward to a 3-day weekend, most of them try to get all their stuff done because they knew they would probably forget everything they did before, and their productivity did increase 40%. Now, I don't know what that metric is for, but yeah, it does look like it was still an 8-hour day. Yep, DJ just looked that up and fact-checked it.
Hey, checks out.
So, yeah, in my opinion, I think I would agree with that. If there is already some data out there that actually works, why don't we do it here?
Well, I mean, I guess you could say the same thing about any system that's been proven to work, that's implemented somewhere else, that doesn't get implemented in a different place, where maybe the system's too far gone and you're too deep into it, and you can't implement that without it being such an extreme and catastrophic change to so many different lives. For instance, let's say all of a sudden we wanted to stop using a democratic system for our government. To implement a change of how we run our country would be so drastic. Just imagining the amount of businesses that might shut down, or at least, if not indefinitely, for extended periods of time that can't afford to shut down like that.
Right.
Policies that wouldn't get enacted, international trade that wouldn't go through because we're trying to figure it out and adjust.
Right.
Like, nobody's like, oh, sorry, America, you guys are going through some growing pains. We understand if, you don't have your shit together. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I can kind of counteract that because that's actually taking out an entire system, whereas you're just trying to change the way things are done. That happens in policy all the time. You have something that works and then it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, totally throwing out a government is very different.
That's true.
But I will say I would love to get that implemented. I mean, if we had an extra day out of the week, Mondays wouldn't feel like Mondays. They'd feel like Sundays.
Yeah, maybe what it would have to take is for a new company to sprout up and come in with its business model and a plan set out based around this new hours system. And
So a trailblazer.
then, I suppose, like any trailblazer type of a company, but like it'd have to be a bunch of companies. I think it couldn't just be one. It would have to be one that becomes very successful.
Otherwise, they would just pin it on luck.
Yeah.
No,
So,
that does make sense.
But again, that would take multiple businesses, which means a lot of different people. It'd be hard for it to be like, yo, Vitor, let's get together and start this company. And it's like, okay, we're just one company. All right, fine. We've already got this going. You manage this department. I'm going to go take some of the people or just find some new people interested who couldn't get into this department or this office. And we're going to go start another one. That's two businesses. There's only so many people you can do that with before it gets maybe too far from the root, which would in this instance be us. And then things might get a little murky across those other companies.
Now, the timing, I guess, does get a little bit more complicated considering we live globalized and, by the time we're asleep, some people working in the Eastern Hemisphere are just waking up for their day job.
That's true.
So, maybe the hours don't work here, but it might work overseas. So, with that being said, this cannot be done by a startup. It could not be done by a couple of startups. It has to be the companies that are already big and have things in place. So if this goes bad,
they have fallback.
They have a fallback, or they can just go back to the way things were.
Yeah.
So, like we said.
In other words, it's super risky.
It's super risky.
Hard
but I think, considering the fact that a lot of people are unhappy, maybe well off and making a lot of money, they're not very happy because they can't seem to see life outside their own little cubicle, or if they do work, moving around, it's just a lot of stress on one person.
Yeah, which it sucks, but I feel like that's the same idea of people who are particularly hard workers are standouts amongst the community, because you don't come across those a ton. I mean, looking across an entire population, let's say the entire country, for example, you're gonna find plenty, but relatively speaking, it's not that many. But if you were to have that many people who think bigger and who work hard to attain those big dreams or aspirations, then it'd probably be more feasible, but it just doesn't exist. But you have to imagine, why doesn't it exist? Maybe it's the lack of opportunity or the lack of, like you were saying, proof. It seems like luck almost that these people become entrepreneurs or figure stuff out. Almost like, have you seen that movie Limitless?
Yes.
Yeah. People were questioning that guy, like, who's this Eddie Moore guy, and how is all of a sudden things just clicking for him? He was nothing a few days ago. Now all of a sudden he's on top of the world.
Right.
Something seems fishy when that kind of stuff happens. So.
Right. So if you're wondering why we're just rambling about this, it's actually to tie into more of what we value when we are quote unquote lifing. I know, like many of you either have a minor obsession or a dependency on good old Amazon, and so we mostly buy our goods from there. So my question to you, with all this work stuff and how much time we would work, keep in mind there's a lot of people that work at Amazon to get your deliveries within 2 hours now.
And this is working throughout the entire day, not just this basic 8 to 5, 9 to 5 schedule.
Right, and it varies throughout the day. So the big question is, if we were to get a legal change from a federal level, would you be willing to give up how quickly deliveries would get to your house if it meant that everybody had better work-life balance?
So, in other words, let's say instead of a standard 8 or 9 hour workday, you had maybe more like a 4 or 5 hour workday, and you were still paid well. Your work environment was fantastic, but because you're only working from 8 to 12 or 5 to 9 at night, that means someone's gonna be an entire company is gonna be off the grid practically for certain periods of time on certain days.
At least in your area.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get your deliveries unless you ordered within a specific time frame. It would only arrive the next day or maybe the next couple of days.
Yeah, so would you be willing to sacrifice the
Convenience
for, I guess, quality for you, and you imagine quality of the product too, because there's going to be a lot less deliveries, or if anything, maybe there's going to be a backup of, like a backlog of deliveries, but, you know, it's more focused. You know, you have a set, you know, we got these 25 packages we need you to get out, and that's all you're worrying about. That's your entire workday. As opposed to, you know, we need you to scramble and try and get out as many of these as you can on your shift.
I mean, and that also leads to porch piracy and all other things that even though they get them out quickly doesn't mean the person actually gets it. They might be at work and they can't pick up their box.
Right.
And then it gets stolen. So it kind of makes a full circle. If people are available at home, maybe your packages don't get stolen.
Yeah, so a question for you guys listening, but let's say, Vitor, would you be willing to risk it for the juicy quality biscuit?
For the shortened work week.
Yeah, shortened work week, but man, I hope you don't do a whole lot of online shopping.
I would do it. I think at the end of the day, you know, we get that package, we open it up, we're like, cool, that's fun. And then we go about our days.
Yeah.
So it's not enough to where someone's busting their butt getting, you know, stressed out and realizing, oh, someone doesn't really value, or at least has gotten accustomed to that level of work. Now, sure, would I miss it? Absolutely. But I think at the end of the day, it matters how people live.
I'm sitting here thinking about it. It really wouldn't be that much different from your everyday Amazon lifestyle. What it would really affect is people like me who procrastinate.
And have to order things last minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if you're ever doing any Christmas shopping or birthday shopping, or you know, you just got paid, you got a refund from school or something like that, and you know, you want to treat your friends and family or yourself, but you know, these deals, they only exist for so long, and then you're going about life. You realize the deal's only going to be going on for 13 more hours, so you're scrolling through Amazon like a, you know, rampaging hog. You know, you're looking for stuff and you see the, you know, oh, this one's only these few items are Amazon Prime, so you'll get it tomorrow as opposed to getting it in 2 weeks when you want it now as opposed to 2 weeks. I think those are the main, if not only people it'll truly affect. Everyone else can probably wait.
Right. And, you know, I think that's kind of the problem is it's only been a few years since this has actually been a reality.
That's true.
Most of our deliveries, and I'm pretty sure
in person,
they used to take a week, 2 weeks, most places, and you would pay for the shipping.
Yeah.
And if you didn't like the product, you would have to pay to ship it back.
And see, here's another counter argument to how bad this could be for procrastinators. You could just do like people do with some stuff with eBay or any of these other apps like OfferUp. You could just meet halfway. You can meet at a place in person.
And give all the deliveries in one place.
Yeah,
That's
and
true.
so, you know, but that's also barring the fact that this is coming from a person as opposed to some company who's manufactured these products. I guess I am thinking more of used or bought and didn't use standpoint as opposed to here's a product that we made in California that you want in Texas.
Right.
You know?
So I guess in summary, once we go ahead and post what you guys think, would you trade convenience for, I guess, a better quality life? I know we tend to seem like it's a little bit paradox. You think convenience makes a better quality life, but sometimes you tend to value things more when they're a little harder to come by.
Yeah, no kidding.
So let me know what you think in the comments when we go ahead and post. I believe we'll be doing it on Twitter.
At least for now.
At least for now. Yeah. And tell us what you think and kind of why you have that standpoint.
Yeah. So, moving on then?
Yes.
All right. My favorite. This is one of my favorite things in the world. I've been doing it since I was big enough to participate, which was, I don't know, the young age of probably way too young. But we want to talk about gaming next.
I don't know about you, but I probably had a controller in the womb.
I mean, I might as well have.
Yeah.
I'm
Came
sure
out there holding a Joy-Con when they were still like,
like, not going to question it, but here's your baby.
Yeah.
So, gaming. That's what we want to talk about. So, Vitor, what game or games are you playing in the current day and age?
Currently, I am a unfortunately obsessed League player. I'm just wanting to get better. Yes, LOL is correct. And that's kind of what I stick to, and I've also been playing NBA 2K since I put sports games up for 5 or 6 years, because they're all getting a little bit redundant.
I mean, they're kind of getting there. I think they've been redundant for 10 plus years.
So
we only recently figured out that they keep doing the same things that they're doing.
The only advice I'd say for any sports gamers, you buy one and then you buy the next one 5 years later, because it takes way too much to build up your player only to have to restart all over the next year. I
still miss my 2K11 or 2K12. I think it was 2K11, my player, from back on the PlayStation 3 days. And I got them up to like a 99 rating. I had him on a shitty team, but I was the star. Chris Paul, wish you could have been me on that old team. But we were still losing a lot. But it was still a lot of fun for me because my character was finally doing something, which was a major turnaround from, having like a 60 overall rating, had crap score, and couldn't do much. I was barely getting time off the bench.
Mm-hmm. And the only time you ever get time off the bench is if you actually play well, but you don't have enough time to play well.
Right.
If you can play well.
So help me God, you have to go shoot free throws, and you can't do that well yet, so...
No one's guarding you, but apparently every time you throw it up, there's a 50-50 chance it's going to go in.
Yeah. So, sports, some 2K, some League of Legends. What else are you playing at the moment?
Honestly, those are kind of the two I've honed in. However, if we're talking about the games I like to play...
we'll get into that.
Okay.
We'll stay in the now. Are you still playing any mobile games, like somewhat frequently or frequently? Because I know you were big into that for a while.
Yeah, unfortunately, I say this because, I guess you could consider it a kid's game, but I have been playing Disney Battle Heroes.
Interesting.
It's just an RPG, but with all the Disney characters we've grown up to love, and I think I've actually been playing that since my trip to Chicago last December, so 2018.
Oh, wow. So
they definitely kept it fresh and been adding new characters, I guess you would call them.
Yeah.
So they didn't upload the whole Disney cast. That would have been a lot.
It sounds catastrophic. It's too much.
If anybody likes RPGs, there's definitely so much that you can do, and their level up system is very complex, and if you like that, then definitely go check it out. I am not being sponsored, obviously. I just think that if you wanted a recommendation on some way to kill time while you're riding the bus or train or whatever you do that doesn't require putting your hands on a steering wheel, it's a great time passer.
But hey, Disney Battle Heroes, you want to sponsor us, that'd be cool. Hit us up in the DMs, and our people can talk to your people. Also, we do not condone unsafe driving on this podcast. But, so, two things that I caught there, two little moments there, I want to pick your brain about, because I too have been playing League of Legends at the moment, and that's about all that I've really been playing, because it's all that I feel I have time to play right now, especially since it eats a lot of time in one sitting. But it sounded like you were a bit upset or reluctant about the fact that you played League of Legends or Disney Battle Heroes, but I feel for you. I've been there. I hated the fact that I still played this game because, and I think it was because I kept getting upset playing it, which can't be a good feeling when you're playing video games, especially for the reasons we play, the things we enjoy from video games. But at the same time, we keep coming back to this game, and it happens every time. You say you're going to stop playing League of Legends, you say you're going to put down Disney Battle Heroes, and you always come back to it. That's just how these kinds of games seem to work. But I think for me, what changed, for me hating the fact that I play League of Legends still, emphasis on still, it's been years, roughly 8 years now, that I've been playing this damn game. I've come to terms with a few things. One, the community can be toxic. Not everyone, but enough of them. Enough of them. Two, I am relatively bad at the game. And as of right now, it just is. And I keep making bad decisions in the game where I'm like, why did I aim that skill shot there? Why did I make that decision knowing that this was probably going to happen and then the bad thing happened?
It feels like sports. It really does. Yeah. Where you practice a bunch and then you're like, I'm so ready for the game. And 5 minutes in, I'm so not ready for this game.
Yeah. So I've come to terms with those kinds of negatives, and those being probably the main, if not biggest, negatives. And I think it's because of that, and because of me going back into the game saying, whatever, I'm not going to worry so much about grinding or trying to get to a higher rank. I'm just going to accept my silver status and play strictly for fun or to enjoy certain champions in certain lanes. And I think that's why I'm at peace now with the fact that I am a proud League of Legends player who occasionally plays TFT because it's a different kind of game and gets you away from toxic players in the other half of the League of Legends community. So what about you being a player of these games, a connoisseur, if you will, of these games that makes you upset to bear that title?
I think it's realizing how much better I've gotten, only to realize that how much better I've gotten is still bad. And so it's definitely a very long and treacherous mountain to climb. At least I'm no longer at the base, but I would definitely like enough skill. Yeah, there's still a long way to go to the top, and I wish there was enough skill there already to make up for teammates' mistakes, because at the end of it, you can be the best player in the team, but if you don't win, you're not moving up.
And that's big for League of Legends. And it's also part of the reason why I like TFT so much. It's just you, and it's random, so there's some skill expression, but at the end of the day, plenty of people could find a win. Now that's League of Legends. Why the hesitation on being proud to play some Disney Battle Heroes?
Because it's kind of a oddball when you talk about wanting to play a kids game, but you know, Disney always has a place in our hearts, of course.
Of course. You've been a kid. You're still somewhat of a kid. You know, you still have those fond memories and those fantastic feelings of, you know, watching Disney shows and, you know, connecting with Disney characters. So, I mean, yeah, it's a kid's game, but, fuck it, who cares? It's a game.
That's true. You can play what you want.
Cool. So, what else are you wanting to play right now, my guy?
Actually, I have quite a few, but the top three are going to be Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh, it's that newer Star Wars game.
Yes. The mechanics and graphics look great and bring me back to my old days of playing the actual episode games. I know they released, Lucasfilms released...
From PlayStation 2?
Yeah.
Man.
That was the last time I played a legitimate other one than Battlefront. Yeah, other than Battlefront. The other one is Death Stranding. So for all you guys who play Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
Same director.
Hideo Kojima. What a guy.
Yeah, and it has been on my list, or at least on my radar, since the teaser trailer came out about a year ago, I want to say.
It's hard for that game to not be on your radar. It's been blown up so much.
For those of you that don't know, Death Stranding is essentially a hunt or be hunted type of game. You play as the main character from
Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus, which you better know as Daryl from The Walking Dead.
Daryl.
And as far as you know, you are the last survivor for this alien race that is attracted by sound, but you cannot see.
But it's not. You say it's a hunter be hunted type of game, maybe in its essence, but it's not a super high, intense action game, though, right? From what I've heard, it's
definitely
super
travel.
slow.
It's definitely more of a open world travel for those of you who like Skyrim. It's kind of similar in the far as the travel part of it. But yeah, it definitely requires a little bit of patience, but I hear the payoff is great. And again, anybody who loves Metal Gear Solid knows you kind of have to wait in the shadows for 10-15 minutes before you do anything. If you get caught, you kind of have to start all over. But that's the challenge of the game. And then I think lastly, I do not remember, and if I'm slaughtering this name, I apologize. Sekiro?
Yeah, Sekiro.
Yes. That one has looked interesting for a while. I just never got the opportunity to go ahead and play it. But I've seen the gameplay, and it looks so aesthetically pleasing. It kind of makes you want to be in the world of samurais, even though all it is loneliness and death. But it's really pretty. It's definitely a very well-made game. So
yeah, and I believe it's in a similar vein, if not the same creator of the Dark Souls games, which many of you might know infamously. Yeah, it's, from what I hear, very difficult, but the game's very pretty. It's very, very fun. Cool as shit. But it can be very challenging and surprising at times. So, yeah, definitely a highly recommended game by many people. I would be interested to play it one day. It's just not something that was immediately on my radar. And I think it's just because I've been behind League of Legends so much and watching their esports with LCS, and so other than that, it's Nintendo Switch stuff and League of Legends pretty much predominantly in my life right now. And there's other games that I'm in the middle of, like Horizon Zero Dawn, that I still need to finish.
I love that. That game took me... Oh, I played the side missions, but that was over 60 hours of gameplay, easily.
Yeah. And I'm trying to avoid that so I can just experience the game and just play through it. I know I'm going to get sidetracked.
It's hard, though, because sometimes I want the extra loot and stuff that's going to make me stronger for, like, the ultimate boss. Because I know a lot of times when we follow main campaigns and don't do the extra stuff, you die about 50 plus times on the last boss when you could have been better prepared on the bottom. And just gotten everything when you're fresh starting out. So, that kind of ties in, I want to say why we like gaming. And I'm sure everyone has the same reason, just like anybody who watches, I guess, reality TV or anything of the sort. You want to be enwrapped in a story, and you want it to feel like it is part of your own story in a way. That is, at least for me. When I was growing up as a kid, I was a little bit shy. Learning a second language made it a little bit difficult to get along with people who kind of just wanted to tease you for having an accent. And so I kind of used video games to not necessarily escape, but create a place where not only I was the center of the universe, but center of the universe in which I created. And that came with a lot of games, even though obviously PlayStation platformer games were very straightforward. But it did feel like I was the main character going through all of these challenges and obstacles and fighting enemies to eventually save someone of importance, or at least get to a goal bigger than myself.
And that's honestly one of the biggest, most awesome things that video games let you do is, especially if you're a person who doesn't feel like they can physically accomplish very much, whether it be like a stature issue, genetic deficiency compared to, other athletes or people with 200 IQs. Video games let you do something with your hands, generally speaking, especially with VR now, where you can progress through a story, progress through levels, challenges, and you can accomplish something. There's trophies you can get that can make you feel like you've done something, and that's a really cool thing to do. On top of that, for me, and a lot of others, video games is one, a big escape, two, a big enjoyment factor, like a thing that you get so much enjoyment out of, because there's so much you can do in video games that you just can't do in reality. Not right now, at least. Maybe in like 20, 30 years, but I can't just, I don't know, go fight a bunch of huge giant mechs and destroy them in like over the top explosive ways. And
personally, I don't want to endure that kind of pain in real life. So
right, so you can kind of do that in a virtual world, and no, you're not actually experiencing that pain, but once you get deeply entranced in like a story or gameplay, you start wanting to avoid those hits as the character because you feel like it's you that's going to take those hits. And there's ways to equate the lack of pain and all that, and I'm not trying to say
it's emotional at least.
Yeah, it's at least emotional or mental. It's not going to be physical in the slightest, but it's there. It exists, and it's fun. There's so much. Oh, it's so much fun. I love.
And as cliche as it sounds,
I love it.
It's endless possibilities. I mean, we have an industry that's been going on since I want to say the 70s. I think the earliest game I can, it's probably been around longer. But the earliest game I can think of is Pong.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, it's the back and forth pixel, and it's basically air hockey on a very
basic scale. Super basic scale.
Yes.
And that came out in 72. There were some ideas of games in the 50s even, but like I've vaguely heard of Tennis for Two.
Tic-Tac apparently was also
Tic-Tac-Toe.
Yeah.
But it's called OXO, looks like. Birdie the Brain, stuff like that. So, there's just a lot that you can do with video games, and it's really fun. And there's so much now, and so much accessibility now.
It's hard to choose.
And it's hard to not find something that everyone would like.
Yeah.
Like, even my mom, she used to try and play a lot of video games with me growing up. And so the thing that finally clicked with us is Wii Sports, which is Nintendo Wii is such a family console, but it's because gamers can have a lot of fun with it, but people who don't play video games have so much fun with it, especially when all you're doing is swinging a remote and trying not to throw it, As long as you got that much down, which there's a safety strap for that, so boom, done, problem solved. So I love video games so much, dude. It's one of my 3 favorite things in the world. Next to people and music, so which we'll definitely have to talk about on another episode. But yeah, that is gaming.
We also want to toss in one last little tidbit. We thought about, because we love video games so much, would we be, if we had the chance to create our own, what would you choose, and is there a particular reason behind creating this type of game? Honestly, RPG still kind of seems to be the style of this type of game. So, in real life, everyone has their strengths and their weaknesses. To pretend that you're good at everything is just ridiculous. And so, yeah, I would stick to an RPG style. But I think it would be very open world in the sense of, i.e., no invisible walls. Literally anything can be traversed.
If you see it, you can traverse it.
You can traverse it.
That.
And it would be randomly generated as you go along.
Some Minecraft elements.
So yes, it would be randomly generated in the sense of, like, as you walk towards, a new environment would be built. Now, there is a few games that are out. One of the main ones that I guess I shouldn't plug, but it was upsetting because it was very open world, but didn't have a lot of sense of direction. Right, it rhymes with something by, and I will definitely bring it up. I just don't want to upset anybody who might have this game, but
dude, see,
Okay.
Dude,
It was I think it's called No Man's Sky.
Yes, that's what it is. I was like, I know exactly. As soon as you started to get down on it,
Yeah.
I was like, wait, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So that one was a beautifully created game. I think the main issue that people had was that it was, I guess you could say, too large. You could not actually meet up with your friends if you wanted to get something done. And even then, what's the point? You would land on a planet. Yes, you could gather resources, but what would you do with them?
Well, that, and I heard that a lot of stuff like that was promised that it would be possible, and it really wasn't. Now, mind you, I stopped hearing about it, so I don't know if it really was more of a matter of the universe is too big. I heard it was more like it literally, the coding doesn't exist. It was like somebody telling you, hey, here's this cool new multiplayer game, have fun, and then you found out intrinsically that it was single player. That's what it sounded like.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but again, I don't know 100%, nor did I care enough to try the game.
So if I had to nail it down, and this is going to sound really odd, but I would make a game that is essentially, and this is going to make no sense, but it would be like, what's it called? Assassin's Creed. So
Okay.
you have objectives, and you know, not necessarily
a storyline.
If you choose
to follow it.
not necessarily killing people, but it is open world, and you can choose which ways to go. Have the openness of a Skyrim or a No Man's Land, and tie it all up with kind of a Sims-like experience. You know, you create your own character from top to bottom.
They still have to eat and stuff like that.
They still have to do basic things to survive, because I cannot tell you how much it bothers me that there's so many Mortal Kombat games where they go 40 days without eating, and they've been bleeding for hours, and somehow they're like, I'm okay, like I'm great.
So it'll be a lot more like a realistic RPG.
Yes, definitely. Some people say that's boring, mundane, because they already do it in
No,
real
because
life.
then this is what I love about these kinds of games. You get to be, and I know people are gonna react to. You get to be someone else. Whoa, but why not be yourself? Because you're always yourself. Sometimes you just want to be somebody else.
Yeah.
Just for a little bit, not indefinitely.
But you create yourself in a different light.
Yeah, and that's another thing. You can create yourself on there if you want, and be yourself, but in a different universe.
All right. And DJ, so what would be your kind of game?
My kind of game, I'm sure you can already guess, my kind of game would be an over-the-top, action-based game, jam-packed with beautiful visuals and movements that are just so ridiculous it could only exist in a game or a movie or something.
So, Fast and the Furious in Horizon Zero Dawn?
Like Fast and the Furious movies meets Devil May Cry gameplay and action. It'd be some craziness like that, where there's maybe some kind of a story. In fact, I'd probably have like a quote-unquote storyline that's more like just a progression, but it has nothing to do with anything. It's just these characters going on some spree or quest that means little.
Sounds like a Fast and the Furious movie.
Yeah, like maybe they got bored one day, the main characters, or the characters you can pick from. Because I do like RPG-esque elements where you have classes, you have styles.
I do like that, because that is very much a real life thing of our society.
We fit in like these niches.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be tied to a class, but that's kind of like your starting
But that's
point.
where your baseline is. Yeah, kind of like in sporting games when you do your My Players, or you might be a 3-point specialist, but you can become good at dunking. And
but this is what
stuff.
you're
But that's
good
what
at
you're
right now.
Yeah, so it'll be probably something more like that, and at least one little bit of uniqueness that makes you want to play through every character.
Okay.
But it'll be jam-packed with explosions and action.
Call it Michael Bay.
Up the wall. Maybe even zero gravity stuff. Weapons that are ridiculous. Like projectile-based weapons, hand-to-hand, melee combat. I want it all, baby. And I want it to be big and ridiculous. And that's what I'm going with, because I really like, that's what I love in movies, that's what I love in games. Not that I don't love other stuff in movies and games and my media, but that's what gets me going, is like, oh my god, he just power drove him into the ground and then like chopped his head off with his bare hands.
I already know what movie you're talking about, and that's the great part.
Yeah.
So as you guys can probably tell, this is actually one of our main bonding points. I've been friends with DJ for about, I want to say 9 years.
It's been about 8, 9.
Yeah,
years.
8-9 years. Probably, I don't want to make this sound
7th, 8th.
Yeah, like 7th grade. So definitely been the lasting longing friendship that I know of that I can consistently see. 10 years.
Nice.
Such a perfect number.
Quick maths.
And so yeah, that's kind of been our major bonding point. We do other things, of course, but as you can see,
it's easier to play video games online nowadays.
Yeah, especially when we have a busy lifestyle, we can spare a couple, literally couple minutes just to get on and look. I can already talk to you. I can already do this with you, versus driving to someone who may live, 30 minutes to an hour away. So what we want to go ahead and wrap up with.
Ooh, my favorite. So I'm weird and different like this. I've been compiling this list of good questions to ask for a multitude of reasons, ranging from stupid, interesting, funny questions to deep thought questions. And we're going to pick one of these random questions, and we might do this every episode. That'd be cool. Or at least, if you guys start sending us interesting questions or interesting thoughts based on things that we talk about, then we'll answer those questions
and
too.
They can be as bizarre and gnarly as possible, as long as they're not so completely inappropriate that we would feel extremely uncomfortable to answer.
Which is difficult to do for people like us, but still,
Yeah, use your best judgment.
Yeah. So, do you want to pick a question or do you want me to pick a question?
You pick a question.
Oh, God. Okay. This is related to video games. Ish. How would your demeanor change in a sudden life or death situation? And I'm thinking situations similar to Sword Art Online for anime fans and cartoon fans, and The Walking Dead for just straight up show fans, where you're put in a situation where you found out if you die amongst...
There's no restart.
There's no restart, there's no respawn, there's no this was a dream. You wake up one day and life is way more threatening and it's affected the entire world instantly, or at least close to instantly.
There's no redos. That's been one of the most popular gamer questions, is, if there was no reset button.
There's no extra lives.
My demeanor changed as most people would do in real life. What do you do in video games when you have a reset button? You take more risks, because guess what? You have a save function, you save, and then you go out and do something ridiculously stupid and say, hey, that didn't work. So let me just load this back up.
Yeah, save states are beautiful.
So I would definitely be more risk adverse, but I don't think my demeanor would probably be more fearful. I mean, honestly.
Because, again, to put this into perspective, of course, that's how life is now, generally speaking. You have one life, you live it, you die, you're done. That's it. But in a situation of being more threatening, or let's say you are in a show or a game where someone could typically rewind, or you could log out, but that doesn't exist anymore. So you're way more freeform, as if you could be. You could do more over the top or ridiculous things maybe that you could in a game or a show or a movie, but almost as if somebody told you, hey, everything's about to go to shit real soon, what are you gonna do? And so I'd probably also be more risk averse, but I'd probably try to take the approach of preparing myself, getting my bearings way more intentionally, and unfortunately, to a degree, I'd still be my very happy, more unaware self, because I'm so entranced into my moment. I would still try to enjoy a lot of moments and still be very happy-go-lucky, still very, very situationally oblivious to things. just because those moments are so nice, they're so enjoyable. But
the adrenaline would definitely kick.
yeah, it'd probably be a lot more adrenaline based joy than anything, because that's gonna be. It's kind of like, when you live in a certain place, you have certain places that you can go out to. You have certain things you can do for fun because that's what your surroundings allow you to do. It'd be a lot more like that. I try to have a lot more fun still, but it'd probably be more like, for instance, in The Walking Dead, I'd probably do a lot of going out and killing zombies, which would be risky, but I would try to do it in a more intelligent, safer way.
You're just trying to prepare yourself from hordes in that case.
Yeah, so it's a two birds, one knife kind of thing.
But
two zombies, one knife.
All it takes is one zombie.
Right, which is why it would be more like I'm exterminating of the immediate threat to blow off some steam and have some fun. But if I'm noticing something kind of off, or things, shit hits the fan a little bit, then I can go back and report that and be like, yo guys, I was out just having a good old time, but this is a bit serious. We need to hunker down and, prepare ourselves for the worst. So that would probably be me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, this has been super awesome, super fun. I enjoyed this a lot, and I'm looking forward to recording more of these.
And keep in mind, since this is our pilot episode, it may have felt a little back and forth and whatnot, but I think this is a good way for us to kind of get a feel of the direction it should go.
Yeah.
And so thank you for those who stuck through the entire end, or if you're skipping to the end to see how it ends. We appreciate either.
Which is fine. We're going to have eventually, hopefully, like planned out segments or inserted clips of, hey, if you don't want to hear about this topic, skip ahead to this timestamp. Something we can do for all of the different walks of life.
Somewhat a quick
listeners.
bit, or somewhat the whole thing.
Yeah, you never know. But we're probably going to appeal to multiple audiences because, we walk multiple kinds of walks of life. That's how we live. So you never know. But for those of you who are itching to send us anything as far as comments or topics or ideas go, you can hit up me, DJ, on Twitter at SirDJ_squared with a 3 at the end. So that's a SIRDJ_SQUAR3D. That's SirDJ squared on Twitter.
And then for me, mine is Valentor, and it's simply spelled at VALENTHOR3.
And that is also on Twitter. Hit up your boys. Let
us know what you would like to hear, because honestly, you can pick my brain at anything.
Yeah, so without further ado, thank you all for hanging out and listening. And we hope to hear from you all and be sending you more content soon. Thanks.
Deuces.